Um, so, hi everyone. We're looking at another project in continuation to what we saw last time. I mean, this is another project which is dealing with the acoustics, and it's actually a music hall. It's in this old historic town of Poland where called Torun, um, where I'll just show you the Google map. So basically, that's the project that we're looking at. This is designed by Fernando Menes, who's based in Tenerife in Spain. And that's the location of the project. There's actually a river down south along the entire edge that is running. And the interesting part of this location is also, of course, one is it is part of the historic town. So there is that whole physical reference that comes in because of how the old town has existed in its original architecture. But also, it's interesting to see how it's actually part of a very large green belt. So, that's also a very kind of sacred aspect of the project, and that's been also considered across and taken forward. So, as you see, this was the plot of land which has been partially kind of half has been taken over by the building itself, and the rest of it is actually a park and is used as a public park. So these are just few images of Torun where you see that brick architecture is part of the old historic town, and and this is actually a UNESCO site. So that's also that's a very important aspect of the context that this project was being built in. So the project and largely what we're going to see is this music hall. As opposed to what we saw last time, which was a very clean, kind of flat box music hall. I mean, an auditorium. This one is very different. It has its own kind of charm because of the various movements that it is possibly making within the space that it's created. So that's from this is the larger this is the main concert hall, and that's from the stage that you're looking at the entire seating space. There's a small balcony area also that is carved in here, and there's seating given at various kind of points that you can see. And it's very interesting to see the material palette, and that's what we're going to speak about also in detail. So I think we'll come to the plans a little bit later. But what we want to understand largely is that it is four volumes. It's four large volumes where you have first, your the cafe reception area, etc. happens here. There is another hall which is happening here, which is a lesser seating and small kind of open air, stage, and this is the main concert hall, where you have the larger equipment and everything else also contributing. There is a possibility of housing an orchestra, and that's your larger circulation and things like that. Um, so yeah, I think we went through the programs at large. We'll come to some of these aspects a little bit later. What I would like to first talk about is actually what was thought about while um, developing the project. This is so. I mean, this project is also special to me because I was as part of the office at the time. I had worked on certain small drawings which were in the external development part of it. But this project only later I realized also went on to become a very big difference in terms of how the acoustics was treated. Basically, the office did not want to deal with acoustics just using any wooden, the wooden panels which generally get used. Fernando wanted to experiment with a different kind of method and material palette to try and see how this could kind of become one big part of the larger context, and also use a material which is coming in from the context itself. Um, so then what was done was there was a lot of experimentation in terms of what kind of methods of the material also, I mean, with the material processing can be used. And this is interesting because what happened was uh, they did, there was brick which was cast, brick chips which was cast in concrete panels, and then that was blasted in this manner, so that you get the various textures on the surface, and that allows you to also create more absorption and different kinds of possibilities for acoustics. Now this actually over time became one of, now today this music hall, because of the scale of it, is also able to house much larger kind of concerts and things like that. But it's also become one new way of dealing with material and seeing what is the possibility that you could try and develop while designing. So these are some of the construction photographs where you're seeing that largely you have your framework happening, and there are these panels which have been connected and put up, and they are largely worked with this Picado kind of process, where it has been blasted after being cast in a concrete plate. So that speckled kind of effect you see across the entire project, and that also comes through in your office areas and things like that. What actually is an interesting aspect of the project is also that the clients only wanted to build a concert hall in the beginning, but because of the way the methodology that was taken care of, I mean used, it also is able to house your orchestras, it's able to house theater work, theater plays and things like that, symphony music, so all kinds of musical gatherings can be held here, and the program has been able to multiply because of that. I actually want to show you an interesting video, um, but I'm just trying to see if the link, I pasted it here also for your reference. One second. So that's the interesting part of the entire concert hall. Basically, there are these large volumes of concrete that you will see in the photographs. You've already seen it, and they have the possibility to kind of you know uh, move up and down, and that's the reason you're able to create different volumes within the space, so that you can house different kinds of music performances within this space, or different kinds of performances which require different acoustic um, um, uh, uh, calculations. And the office also works very hands on now. So there were a lot of 1:50 scale models built before the project also went through. So all these angles and things like that were tested about 8 to 10 times. So the first reverberation angle was then checked. What is your first angle was checked, and then after that everything else was worked from there on. So it was made with physical models tested, and then a lot of this has then become 1:1 after that. But the interesting aspect is that you don't have a plain surface, and the material palette is completely something that is carved out of what the existing context is. And the building itself also, the way it sits within the site, it's trying to scoop into the basement as much as possible, so that the it's not becoming a very large kind of scale above ground level, where it's taking over the existing context, because the buildings around need to be respected. And then largely you're kind of creating more cave like spaces even within the building. And the interesting aspect from outside also then is, one second, I'll just, I also wanted to include some of these photographs because it's just about how even the concrete blocks outside have been dealt with and kind of detailed. So some of that, the way that it has been detailed, the way it sits with the ground, I think some of that is very interesting to also pick up and see when you all also start designing these aspects. So this portion which I said was the park is completely kind of taken over by a earth berm, and then the rest of it, your building is also scooping from the inside into that, and trying to create some more spaces for your equipment, etc. um, that's your building in the night. Basically the idea was also to create a rock, and create a mass, and which is just cut through. Um, uh, so what you see outside is basically these pale concrete walls, and then you see the speckles of brick, which is giving you a glimpse of what is going to happen inside, and what happens inside is completely, the brick taking over in a sense. Yeah, so these are some of the construction photographs where you're seeing all your fabrication happening, and then each block is kind of cast and brought to site. So that's what you see in the main hall. Yeah. I'm just going to run through some more photographs. So the same uh, texture of walls, and the way that you wanted to create your volumes has been taken on the inside as well. So the entry of the staircase, etc., the same parapet walls continue within the building as well. And then what you see even in the breakout spaces is largely your textured concrete with brick. These are some of the office and admin spaces which also bring in the same thing. So because you have the cuts between the volumes that you have created on top, you have your light sitting within, so it also gives you a more kind of diffused, not hard hitting sharp light. It has that possibility to graze the walls. These are some of the detailed photographs, and I mean I also added this again comes in one of the circulation areas, and it's interesting to see how this is also Fernando's signature. Actually, this is also interesting to see how the planes of concrete have been kind of dealt with, and there's a lot of texture given to it. Of course, some of it also becomes details. Some of these are actually doors which can open up and stuff like that. So in that sense, it is not that it's just ornamental or anything like that. It's more to do with it becoming a detail for concealed detail for being used further. That's the concert hall in its full capacity. Yeah, so those are some of the photographs. Like, we can run through the drawings, and then we can probably just discuss more about this. I think some of this, I mean, you'll also probably know of the Magma Art Center in Tenerife. I think some of you all were studying um, uh, the Calatrava Auditorium in Tenerife, or you all were studying TEA, right? And you all had also kind of given a reference of the Magma Art Center.
Yes,
And
yes.
this is very so this actually the speckled effect of the brick has also come in from that. Magma had actually come in first before this project was on ground, and Magma also uses the same technique, but it uses it in volcanic rock. Because I don't know if you all know about this, Tenerife is also an area which has volcanic it's emerged out of a volcanic mountain, Teide. So what you have is remains of the volcanic ashes and things like that. So the volcanic rock was then used into the concrete plates and kind of blasted to create the Magma Art Center. And this was then, so the interesting aspect also is that this way of working or developing a material palette was accepted by the government of Poland and Spain. They had got permissions, and after that, these projects were taken forward. So that was an initiative from the office's side as well. So yeah, so it has some interesting milestones in terms of what they were trying to do. um, I think you need to kind of delve deeper and actually study the spaces yourselves also, to understand what's going on. It's also so that I mean, this was just an introduction to give you a way of looking at the project, and I think you should just spend time kind of studying it further and trying to read as many write-ups about it also, so that you get a better kind of understanding of what's going on, what the larger volumes are also doing. There are I think some numbers also mentioned about what are the what is the amount of absorption, what is the amount of reverberation when you actually bring a surface down within this concert hall, what happens, and how much the volume can reduce by. All those kind of numbers are also mentioned, so you could study that further. Um so yeah, I mean, that section is largely it. These are some of the drawings that are developed at the office again. So it's interesting to kind of see that that is the technique that is used in the office. This is from the stage. Yeah. So Meenal, if you'd like to kind of make any points, and then we can also ask the students if they want to say anything about this project.
I
We
mean,
have one more.
yeah, I mean, it's nice that you have worked on this. It's really amazing. And I think you are the right person to talk more about it rather than me. But what I would really like to make you guys understand here and focus on is, because the next submission is going to be on this, and that's going to be your elevations and your sections. So the volumetric way of handling the auditorium plus the material. So when you do your elevation, sectional elevation or elevation or whatever, material will play a very important role. Third important thing is, I think the submissions that are lined up right now are all on your sight lines, on your sound lines, your RT calculations. They are very small, tiny, desk to desk kind of a submission. They are not like those major 30, 40 marks for submission. But when Swati was talking about the material and the way the material characteristics can be changed by blasting them, by burning them, I mean, that's really amazing. And that's exactly what the innovations and the researches are all about. I mean, as you go in higher years, you will, I mean, the way the high rises are handled with, because you are looking for more sustainability. In this case, we are looking for more acoustic sustainability, where we don't have to depend on anything mechanical, but rather if we can achieve everything through the shape and the form of the building, I think that is like that would be really amazing, like what Philip Johnson has managed to do in NCPA. So if so, yeah. So this is a really nice example and nice formulative form, I would say, very nicely done. Nice materials as well. So you had gone for exchange, Swati?
No, I had actually applied to. I mean, this was after I'd finished my internship. I had
Mm-hmm.
written to them, and I was there for a couple of months. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't work on this project too much. Honestly, it was only about some um, working drawings that I gave out for the
Mm.
external development. Sorry, but. But yeah, I mean, I was part of many other projects in the office, but this was interesting because even after I came back, this project kind of got completed in terms of construction, and that's when we started reading more about what what it was doing in the larger scape of how to deal with acoustics and all those kind of things. So that it was interesting to kind of reflect on it later. Some bits, of course, I
Mm.
knew from what was going on as discussions in the office, but um, I think personal understanding also grew later, and I could get value of what was going on.
I know.
Um, so
Hmm.
yeah, so I mean, also the brick idea was coming in also from the aspect of course the context, like I said, but to kind of respect that and to see what the contemporary take on that could be. So it was more about that the forms. If you see or study Fernando's work, most of it is so there is this book called Reason and Emotion. I believe it would be in your library as well. It was something that I kind of came across in my third year, and the sketches of the office are absolutely they're breathtaking. So in my third year when I came across it, I kind of lived with it for the next 2 years, and that's when I wanted to work with Fernando, and I kind of wrote to them, and I worked with them after. But the idea of just reason, emotion, the form coming out of emotion also is something which is like Fernando speaks about and is also written about in the book. If any of you all are interested in that kind of a process or just understanding what that mindset is, just probably read more about it. Most of what lectures you hear of Fernando are in Spanish, so you might find it a bit difficult to find many online. But yeah, read more through books, and if you're interested, it might help you in developing some understanding and way forward in this direction. So this was, if anybody would like to discuss this project further, we can speak about that. Because there's one more project that we can see, but that will go fast because there's not. Um, I mean, we want to look at the materials and the kind of the way they've used it, but in my opinion, it's not a very great looking project or very sensitive either. So yeah, I mean, if anybody wants to discuss this project from guys, students, anybody who wants to say anything.
I have a more general doubt in terms of like both resolution of architecture and in terms of tech studio. Am I audible?
Yes.
So I want to ask that since now, I mean, there's a fantastic form in the auditorium ceiling with the kind of, uh, the level, how do I describe it? I'm losing the word for it. The sort of tessellations in the ceiling, which
Hmm.
provide the acoustic reflections. So now when I'm actually like designing it as an architect, such a space, uh, how well detailed do I have to be in terms of my acoustics? Because if I'm having one surface which is reflecting, that's already like a whole batch of acoustics. But to create so many surfaces that are all creating reflections in their own direction, how do you achieve it as an architect with a limited idea of acoustics as part of the job portfolio? D- Like how much care was put into the acoustic by the designer themselves? Because here the sound engineer will obviously go for the shortest route to finish, right? The more
Yeah. So like I said, I mean, it's one. I mean, if you're talking particularly about this project and how it was developed in this studio, um, see, of course, there were sound engineers, and it's only with their approval that you could move ahead. Also, but like I said, there was a lot of uh, hands-on physical development that was done for studying. So the reflection, absorption, all of that was studied with scaled models, and with the team on board, of course. And once everybody kind of said yes, and I said, like I said, there were 10 iterations to it. The 10th one got through because of certain, everything kind of being in place, but the first 9 were just developments in that direction, with all the teams on board. So it also helps to have all your consultants on board from the beginning, and going through these processes together. So it was not that the form was being developed separately, and this was the form, and then the sound engineer was called in to kind of um, plug their whatever important aspects they required into the project. It was something that was cohesively kind of developed in consultation with both the entities, or both the stakeholders. So that process of kind of collaboration since the beginning helps in coming to this point, I believe, in my limited understanding.
So you can't do this
all,
without the sound engineer, right?
no, so no, you can't do this without your sound engineer. You just can't, because you're not trained for it. Are you an engineer or an architect?
Last time I checked, I was an architect.
Yes. So stick to that. What you can do here is put down your foot and say, this is the shape I want. Okay. And then a little tweaking here and there, the guy will have to work out. And then finally, if he absolutely refuses to say that this is not working and you will need to do this, then you go and do the changes. And that's where Swati said that you have to make the model. So that's where the experiment, or rather I would say the experiments of model making will come into the picture, where you then say, okay, this form is not working, but this guy is saying aise karo, so then you will go and make this, but now you are not happy. So you'll have to do that sharing. I'm not happy with this form and I like really the one that I did. Now how can you get in between, so the sound engineer is also happy and you are also happy? So yeah, it's all about balancing, a very thin balancing. And if you're lucky and what he suggests and you like it, then there is nothing like it. पर ऐसे बहुत कम होता है. We as an architect also have something ना, हमारा भी एक sense रहता है कि no, I really want this to happen, and so that always happens. But there are times when sound engineers can really put his foot down and say, if you go ahead with this, but if it doesn't work, don't tell me. Then you really have to listen to him. Okay. But that doesn't mean that you give up your creativity. So it's, as I said, it's like, really balancing the act of how do you manage everything. Yeah, completely.
Right. So, essentially, like if I want to do something like this in tech, obviously, if it won't be to this level in terms of quality
No,
and in terms of resolution. But
no.
if I just make the general kind of line, plane of what my reflection should be, and then on top of that, I make these undulations, however I want to make them. I had a sort of different idea of the undulations, but still. So
Mhm.
that's still generally understood as like the sound engineer will tell me, like the first draft I sent to the sound engineer, essentially, like this is the general reflecting plane, and usme I want essay reflections. And then my sound engineer will come and tell me, okay, no, change it from this, change it from that. So when my
Yeah,
guy will play the sound engineer as well as they can, but in the end, it'll have to go to the guy on the contract, right?
sure, sure. And Swati, just a question from my side.
Huh.
Did you guys use some special software for creating this form, like Grasshopper or something, or was it just done on AutoCAD?
It was done on AutoCAD.
Oh, wow,
I mean,
that's
the
fun.
office uses ArchiCAD a little bit, but that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the other 3D softwares are not being used so much at that time. But the physical models is the way the office works. That's all. Like
Yeah.
there's and concrete and concrete, and there's always that experimentation that is happening with that. So there's a lot of carving that's going on. Most of the projects are always carved, so the forms are coming out of a very physical kind of experimentation.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So guys, that means this is possible to do on AutoCAD. Yeah. Because with this kind of form, I thought probably, you might have gone for some other major kind of a software. But if this is possible by ArchiCAD, and I think few of my group people were asking about this, and I think the audio recordings are available. So if you are interested, take 2 more steps, make out time, see to it that you manage your other submissions, but you can really go ahead and learn ArchiCAD. Possible hai?
ArchiCAD is similar in function to Revit, right?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Revit is more precise.
And Revit is generally used for production drawings in the sense that, say you are doing, and generally used when the buildings are high rise and you have multiple floors, and the same kind of services and construction methods are being applied on all floors, instead of you doing AutoCAD, manually, like doing your floor after floor. Revit just produces. I mean, it's amazing. Imagine having one square and that acts like a duct, and you know that your pipes are going to go up, and it gives you that in elevation, section, 3D, everything. Just cut down.
Interesting.
Even I had a doubt. I was
Yes.
actually referring to this project for my construction project, so the doubt might be a little bit personal. But like you said, some of these modules were precast, and then the ones which moved, they were precast, and then they were got to site and installed. But what about the other surfaces which are inbuilt, like they were built in the form? How are they constructed? Like what was like the exact construction technique, so like I can go about it like that?
Yeah, so like I said, now these panels that you saw, these are the panels. They're not the volume. They're not the entire thing is not cast in situ concrete, right? These are panels, okay. So they were also developed as they were cast and developed with the brick inlaid, and then as panels after blasting, they were put up on your steel framework. So largely most of this is sitting on a steel framework, okay. And then the rest of, so what you see here, these are all panels that are then brought in, okay, and then set up after your steel framework is done, um, and they are just fixed with grouting happening between them. So that's what the method of or process of construction is.
Okay, so the main support are the steel members inside, like
Yes,
a
yes,
truss like form inside the panelings.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So
So
all the cranes that you're seeing are actually working to fix them in place. That's what's happening. They're all working at different heights to fix them in place.
Right, yes, yes.
Sorry, Meena, you were saying something.
no, I just said. So in this, guys, so generally now we are asked questions: how many sections should I make? Swati, how many sections you made? Innumerable, right? As and when you need to fix the thing in place, you will have to take that many sections. So it depends on the form. It depends on the idea that you need to convey to the site and to the contractor. So उसमें कोई limit नहीं है. The drawings can be as many as you want to produce, and that's where the smartness of producing drawings come into the picture. what exactly the methods you will go by. Otherwise, each and every, after every 5 centimeter, you'll have to take a section, but that's stupidity, right? You don't do that. So that way, how would you then take sections that would give exact idea to the contractor of the form of the building? And so I think that will have to be done very intelligently.
Yeah, in a case like this, somewhere, I mean, even if we just decided that this is our undulation, right? Like, of course, like Meena said, we'll have to take it every, you know, 5 centimeters if, you know, the kind of undulations that you have in this. But suppose we just gave an overall kind of terrain, right? And then you give that at every, you know, few meters or whatever. And then one can always discuss with the execution team on how many faces that it requires also to accommodate in that kind of a terrain. It depends on what you're taking. I mean, or you can decide that I have so many planes. I'm going to place all the so you place all your planes in plan, and then you kind of you know just provide that as information, and then the site team can work out the rest of it from there. But there has to be that possibility of a give and take between the two teams also. So that is another aspect. So you can't give all kinds of information in the drawing also. That's uh,
Or there are methods of drawing. Like one of the projects we had done, we had an undulating kind of a ceiling. So how do you then convey that which dip is happening and where it is happening? So you make a grid, okay, and then so you take a section, okay, and you give that this is the total level, and then you actually took an RCP where you put it on the grid, and on each square you mark out that this is the thing that is coming down. So when they started making the construction, and they had to drop that J hook, the length was what they adjusted, and that's how they got the dip. In wherever the dip was happening, the length would be longer, and wherever it was up, it would be shorter, and that's how the entire thing was panned out. Also, when you plan, there is certain rhythm we take into consideration. There's certain pattern that we consider, right? It's not like random. Of course, that is also a possibility. Like here, it is random, but generally, people do opt to go for that. If I take this module, then it would be repeated maybe 2 times, 3 times, and so then it becomes easier to work out the working drawing. So there are various methods, guys. So each time you see a building, na, think about the way the architect would have conversed with the contractor, and the clarity that you will get in terms of drawings, in terms of construction material, services, and how overlay it happens behind the facade. Like you get a nice looking picture right now in front of me, but uske piche what an architect had to do. He had to consult with so many guys, so many people, tab jaake he got this. So I mean, it's a lot of work, and right now it might look very very difficult, but once people start coming on board and the discussions happen, believe me guys, solutions बहुत easy हो जाता है. It's nothing complicated. Don't get scared by such forms. होता है.
Yeah, actually, this project was it was a competition that was won in 2008, and then it went on floor. I mean, groundbreaking happened in mid 2013, and I think by end of some mid 2015 the project was completed also. But it took those 5 years of working and planning to get to that 2013 of groundbreaking. So like Meena is saying, all the work that has gone in behind it was happening in that 5 years of planning everything and making sure everything is coming on paper correctly, and is getting permissions to get done also. But of course, acoustically, how do you manage this kind of a new way of doing things was all being done in those initial years of planning for the entire space. So yeah, that much time kind of went into that.
The fact that such buildings exist and they have been done, that means some method of drawing has been evolved. We just have to figure out your method. That's it. Just that.
So then shall we move to the next project? Should I move to the next one?
Yeah. If there are no questions forthcoming, go.
Yeah, okay. So this is called Primata Pintar Auditorium. It's in one of the university complexes. And that's one of the initial sketches where you have all these, triangular volumes kind of coming emerging out of the ground. I'll just come to this drawing again later. Sorry, but that's what it is. That's your project, which is sitting in a more kind of landscape site because it's part of a university campus. And like you saw in the beginning, the material is a little bit more reflective on the outside, so it's aluminium cladding, and that is essentially to kind of just reflect your entire um, sound off and keep the volume free from any influx of the outside sound. So and it's a very kind of straightforward plan where you have this kind of fan out um, seating space, and then you have your um, stage towards this end. Um, that's your balcony. So that's your in the section you see that there is this whole steel framework which is happening, and then you have the cladding of the aluminium on top of it. So that becomes the exterior part of it. And then you have your centrally located kind of these walls, which are also supposed to help you with the acoustics aspect, because that's the major surface that is being dealt with. Um, so that is where your whole material palette comes in, and then you see that there is aluminum cladding on the outside, there's steel framework, and there's the composite kind of materials are being used on the inside, which is still creating a double skin, right? Because you have the wall in the middle. Um, of course, again, these angles are also being developed considering the kind of reflection angles that you require, etc. So those have come across from there. So here this diagram also shows where it kind of gets reflected and hits back here on the last. So all those are based on calculations. But the interesting part of the project was just these concrete units, where you have the block is carved out, and it's able to kind of absorb some of the sound, and that's why it makes the whole wall a little bit of a porous wall. And then you can avoid using your traditional materials that you end up using in most of the auditoriums, right? So how concrete again becomes a more absorptive material in this case by just creating some scoops within it, and then going ahead with using that as the final finish for the entire space. So then that's what you get, and then you have your ceiling, which is doing um, 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 different it's kind of fanning out again, because you need to maintain whatever reflection angles that you need to maintain. See, these are some of the studies that are already existing, and that's been picked up and put here. uh, so it's easy to also kind of see what people have already studied. So what you see is that the stage has been dealt with in a certain manner, where you have angular kind of ceiling on top, and then that's how those are helping you to um, send the sound waves out to the audience side. Then you see what's happening here. There are details that are mentioned. There is a slot to absorb anything that is happening. There are these, of course, framework that is happening above. Um, the curtain is being placed here. Then the reflection of the canopies is mentioned as well, which is also that continuous terrain that is being created. Yeah, so this was the other important aspect of the carpet being of a certain material as well, so that the flooring doesn't become a hindrance in your absorption of sound, etc. So that has been also spoken about and taken care of. That it is that it is a acoustically sound carpet, which is called loop pile in this case. Yeah, so the year they will, I mean, basically the seating material is also kind of taken care of and things like that. Of course, that happens in most, I mean, that would happen in all projects. I think Meenal would be able to tell us that the upholstery is also considered within the absorption criteria, etc. So that's just been spoken about a little bit more in detail. So anybody who's looking at what kind of material needs to be used, or if you all are talking about these specifications, you all can always refer to some of these projects to understand better of that. That was the idea of including it actually. Um, um, yeah, so the gypsum ceiling also, I think Meenal has already spoken about this earlier. Again, the gypsum ceiling is allowing you to, work with sound in a certain manner, and it's absorbing um, um, the frequency of sound in a certain sense. Um, and the fixing detail is also mentioned here. So the steel framework that you need to create, and where do you need to create the junctions to kind of connect them back into your main slab. So this is interesting because this diagram kind of shows you how the sound is actually acting. So basically, the main sound that hits your vertical surface would kind of reflect back, and anywhere that you're hitting the vertical surface, it would reflect back. But the rest of it that enters the volume then gets absorbed and gets included in here. So that's how the sound is working, and the module is actually helping you to create this kind of acoustically sound space. So anybody who's probably looking at a different material, again, this is a possibility to consider. And of course, there is a calculation of how many of them should be included, at what points do you need the vertical bands and things like that. But that will happen as per your volume that you are creating, so that you will have to kind of work on a little bit further. But again, we've come towards the end of the presentation in terms of this project again, where you're seeing the cladding happening, and sorry, I've gone to the back, sorry. I mean, my intent of including this was also to show you how the saucer drain is working more from the landscape perspective, and how these details are also important when you're planning on the outside. These things, of course, we'll come to later in the year, but just visually to give you a sense of what's going on. Yeah, no, I'm not a very big fan. Just included this to kind of sum up the project. So that's what your entire ceiling gypsum boards are here. Basically, they are hung off the main roof. That is your balcony area. Again, has its own um, um, uh, terrain because of it responding to sound in a certain sense. And then of course that we spoke about the undulation happening at the stage itself. Yeah, so that's largely it. I mean, if anybody has any points to make on this project, we can discuss this. But yeah, I mean, the my only interest of showing this was for the CMU units, not so much about the whole design of the project.
So guys, we looked at three kinds of sound diffusion methods, right? One was actual diffusion, one was reflection, and the other one was absorption. Now look at the paneling that is being done. Okay, they all look same. Okay, but definitely the way they have been configured, okay, or actually been done probably on site or probably customized, but half of them are absorption, many of them are diffusion, and many of them are reflection, because they might keep the texture same, they might keep the color same, but the configuration of the material will change. Okay, so instead of perforation, the perforation, they will look like a perforation, but पीछे से शायद उन्होंने एक लकड़ा लगा दिया है तो तुम्हारा reflective हो जाता है. If it is a diffusion, okay, they would put some a different texture on the same panel. Okay, it will not look so very obvious, but if you touch it, probably you can feel it, and that is good enough for diffusion. While absorption, they just leave the perforation as it is. Probably they would introduce another plyboard or a plywood or any other material at the back and fill the material or fill the space between the perforated panel and the whatever the material they have put it. Okay, it could be wall as well, with some kind of a softer material which will absorb sound. So it's how the panels are done. Okay, and many architects opt for this kind of similarity, and they don't want to do all this jig jag of so many material usage. And basically, because more materials, you have to figure out more kya kehte hain, its characteristics, also the details, like Swati just showed the previous project where so many materials were used, and the way they had to be done also has to be configured by architect. Now if you really don't want to go for that kind of detailing, then this is another way of taking a call and saying, I'm going to make a very simplistic kind of a thing with using just two bare basic kind of a material, gypsum board, and the perforated sheets could be of any material. Perforation can be done in steel, it could be done in wood, it could be done, I mean, the jali is what? Perforation in a brick wall, right? So this is how you would have the entire panning out. Now, why am I saying this? Again, my focus is always the academics, okay? And you guys are going to do RT calculation, so you've got to be a little bit mindful about what materials you are going to pan out. So now the explorations for you will be about different materials that you're going to use within the auditorium, okay, or or whatever you are designing, call it community hall, multipurpose hall, whatever, and come up with the correct RT, correct sound lines, and sight lines, which we have discussed in detail during the acoustic lecture. So you know how to do the sight line, you know how to do the sound line. Okay. If not, please go back, look at the lectures again. Okay. Familiarize yourself and then come back and do the drawings. So any questions, guys?
Meena, since you mentioned the sound lines and sight lines, if we're doing them again, I think a good idea would be if we get a revision set like 1 or 2 classes before the jury. So by then we'll have a set of drawings already, like some idea of it. So we can self-correct it based on the revision.
Just go through the lecture where I was talking about it and you will know it.
I have gone, like I've memorized that lecture only by now. I don't even need notes.
So,
But
Shravan, everything. So, what happens, the best way to learn is to do it. No matter how many cooking classes I give you, until you make that egg burji, you will not be able to, exactly figure out what will be the masala that you use. And I'm giving the analogy of food because that is something we all are so familiar with. We eat every day, right? Thrice a day. So we familiarize with that very well. So unless and until you dirty your hands, you will not understand. So make a drawing. Even if it is wrong, your guide will tell you that this is wrong and this is how it is to be done. मैं
yeah,
कितने
and
भी
that was
lecture Okay, and
I
it will be all oral. Okay, I might show you some drawing, but till you do it, you will not realize. Because see, Shravan, your angle of auditorium will be very different from the one which I am showing you. Now, the one which I'm showing you will be working for that, but for you, probably you'll have to change. So that is where your sight angles, and when you do it for your own auditorium, you will realize that this is what you need to do, and that's where the tweaking will happen.
Yes, okay. Yes.
Hmm?
If I do have any doubts, I can always send you my PDFs, right?
Definitely, definitely.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Do we have a lecture on a reflected ceiling plan to show the services? No, there is no need to take any reflected ceiling plan lecture, because I kind of covered it when the first lecture where I was talking about the different parts of the auditorium and how they are spatially connected with each other. The last portion that we covered was of the tension grid and the catwalks. So yesterday also, I don't remember the person, but somebody messaged me about catwalks and tension grid. So just to be on a very, so that if the whole class is on par, what is a tension grid and what is a catwalk? A catwalk is a thinner section, okay, where a person is able to walk or crawl, okay, a cat crawls. So you can crawl there. Basically, to change light, you don't need to stand. You can even sleep on the catwalk and change the light. नीचे हाथ डाल के आप कर सकते हो, है ना? Now, how would you plan your catwalk? Obviously, the best is you put lights under the catwalk. बाजू में आजू बाजू में करने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. जहां जहां पे आपकी लाइट है उतना आप कैटवॉक दे दो और उसके नीचे ही आप फिट करो. तो you already have a grid into which you just have to fit a light. So you have a false ceiling grid. Maybe you are the one which you just, I mean, what you can see on the picture, you are having this nice rectangular panels running across the auditorium. Okay. And you can see the layer of lights there. So what this guy will do as a catwalk planning, if there are 3 panels, I would put one in the center. The catwalk would be in the center so that I can access both the side wala panels, because the distance is very less. Had the distance been very far apart, then you will have to give me catwalks there as well. Now, to avoid all this business of catwalk here, there, kahan dalu, kyun, है ना, over there ना एक grid डाल दो, tension grid डाल दिया. What is a tension grid? Tension grid, as I showed you the picture, is like a catwalk, but it is made up of a very strong steel mesh. Okay. Now that steel mesh, no matter how strong it is, will sag, right? Because you can't, I mean, 2 people walking on it will sag. So then how do you tie it up? Of course, by you have your I sections, you can bolt it, you can nut bolt it, whatever, you can weld it. And that's how the entire, just as you make your floor, similarly, you will be making this. Now, in this case, since you are having your girders, you are having your trusses or whatever your spanning members are, they are the guys who is going to handle tension grid. They are the one who is going to take the load of the tension grid. So all the business of taking the load of the tension grid is not by it is completely taken by the roof and finally converted into the forces on the column, and that will go down to the foundation. So your roof and the beams are the one which are really going to hang. So basically you can even hang your complete tension grid from the ceiling. That's where your girders will have to be stronger and more sturdy. Because imagine a small thin wire mesh, okay, though it is very strong, it has a great tensile strength, you cannot span 14 meters. नहीं होगा, 15 meters, 20 meters. वो sag होने ही वाला है. So the easiest way is to hang it up. So you give the tension कम करो उसका. I mean, that's exactly what Shantanu showed you, right? In the last lecture when he was talking about how the load is getting transferred, how the sagging will happen, what do you do to reduce the sagging? You apply the same thing even in the material like a tension grid. I hope I made myself clear. Now, if you have a tension grid versus catwalk, आप कहीं पे भी light डालो, you are able to access it anywhere. No bridges, no? It's like the whole thing is a bridge. It's like you have a bridge across a river. Instead of a bridge, what if you have a big, the whole river is like kind of covered with a large kind of, say, solar panels. which is very sturdy and can take your load as well. Jo, actually, it's been done in Gujarat, where you have the canal water from Narmada reaching Bhuj, okay, interior of the Gujarat, okay, but then water evaporates. So how do you save that? You put a solar panel on it. So आपने पूरा cover कर दिया. So similarly, imagine that instead of having bridge across a canal or a river, you are covering it up with completely. That's your tension grid. So instead of having these chotu catwalks, you can have a tension grid supported from the ceiling. There are lots of क्या कहते हैं, methods with which you can control the tension grid. Okay, one of them is through the roof. Shravan, did I answer your question?
Oh yes, yes.
Or somebody
I
else
think that
asked me that question.
that was Vaishnavi. It's mine you answered.
Yeah. So is this concept of tension grid and catwalk clear? So lecture as such is not. So basically what is a reflected ceiling plan? So how we plan our floor, right? We plan our sofas, we plan our windows, doors, and then the circulation. Ki my sofa where I'm placing it should not be and a TV. So ऐसा नहीं हो कि door बीच में से, so people will have to pass to open the door. That's a bad planning, because every time I'm watching a very interested, say a match, है ना, where a fraction of second and a catch happened, and catches win the matches. Now in that बीच में से कोई एक लंगर गया, तो I miss the match, I miss the catch, and I kind of. So that's bad planning. So that's what you do for your plan, right? Similarly, imagine you sleeping on the floor and looking up at the ceiling and figuring it out. Now, what will come on the ceiling? First of all, your light ka grid aega. Okay? Where are you going to place your grid? So I'm sure most of your homes, if they have done interior, you would know that at the corner they would put LEDs. Okay, red, yeah. I mean, sorry, red, yeah, yellow or white, whatever. Or maybe you have tube light. But there is a pattern we want to follow. It cannot be random. Unless you have not done the interior and it's just like what the builder has given you, that's a different take. Okay, that's okay. But I'm just saying that if you're planning as an architect, then you would think about how my false ceiling is going to look. And then probably you will go ahead and say, no, I want to make my false ceiling look as if it is floating, it is not touching the wall at all. यानी लोगों को ऐसा ही लगता है कि ये बड़ा सा स्क्वायर मुझे दिख रहा है, but it's not supported on either wall, but it is supported from the ceiling. So what you do is you leave a gap of say 6 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches, depending on what your design is, okay? And you leave that gap from the wall, and you see that it is not supported only from the ceiling. That's another take. Or you will say, मुझे ये light जो ceiling में दिख रही है वो दिखाना ही नहीं है. I want to give a very invisible kind of a diffuse light, okay? Where I can just see the light, but not the light fixture. मुझे light दिख रही है and I'm getting the light, okay? But it's called as indirect light. So if you want that, then what will you do? In that 6-inch gap that you have left from the wall on all 4 sides, I hope you are able to imagine what I'm saying. Then you will make a niche there, okay? And उस niche में आप light fitting डालोगे जो आपको दिखेगा ही नहीं, क्योंकि आप तो नीचे खड़े हो, और light filling का वो 6 इंच का छोटे से gap में अंदर हाथ डाल के आपको वो light fitting करना पड़ेगा. थोड़ा difficult हो जाता है when you have to change the light, but over a period of time you manage that, okay? But those are called as hidden lights, okay? Where you get beautiful light, but you don't see the fixture. So how would you show that as a drawing? So you show me a square, but then all the light fitting you will show me in dotted. So that would be the false ceiling or the reflected ceiling plan. So that is one thing, that I see all the light fittings on the top. The second thing that I will see is your fans. Even if your room is AC, आप दिन भर तो AC नहीं लगाते. So during daytime, हाँ, जब घर पे मेहमान है and people are just opening the door, coming in and out, you will put on fan. So how do you then place, if it's a very large kind of a living room or a place, and I'm talking about your home so that you can actually imagine the place of your home. Imagine you don't have fan in auditorium. Please don't give me fan in auditorium, okay? Unless it's naturally ventilated. If it is natural and you are going for complete natural ventilation, then yes, fans will come. Very nice. अब जैसे अपना है ना? So you will go for fans in auditorium if it is naturally ventilated, or you want to say that yes, I have provided my ventilation to be done naturally. But if you know that natural ventilation is just not possible any given day of day, any given point of time, don't even dream of putting a fan there. Okay, coming back to this, so the second thing is your fans. If you are planning your fan, now if you are not planning the fan and completely air conditioning, then the second grid that will come on the ceiling will be all about your air conditioning. कहाँ से एयर कंडीशन सप्लाई होता है और कहाँ से वो रिटर्न एयर लिया जाता है. So there are return grills and supply diffusers. Now they both look same, and that's the reason why we give different name. ताकि when I say that grill is a diffuser, that means you know that it's a supply वाला grill है. बाकी वो दिखता grill ही है. So understand the concept of why different names, just to make it easy for me to talk to the contractor. When I use the word diffuser, it means it diffuses the air, but a grill, a plain common grill, okay, जो हम window को grill को भी grill ही बोलते हैं, right? Because it has certain modules. The same thing is what it's like, a louvers with squares, and that's exactly what a grill looks like, okay? That takes the return air back to wherever the AC is, okay, AC room is. So ये आपका grid आने वाला है. Now the third thing that will come on the top, and that is if your acoustical planning को support करने के लिए, will be your sound क्या कहते हैं, speakers. So that will be the third. The fourth thing that will come on the ceiling would be your sprinkler system, fire sprinkler system, because this is where you are putting 100-150 people together in case of fire, in case of safety precaution. It's a necessity when a public gathering happens. Whether it's a small building, whether it's a large building, you have to go for the fire. Okay, so even if you don't show here, it's fine. Okay, done, because you are not yet taught how to do the sprinkler. I don't know whether you guys did it in the second year. I generally do it in the second year as a part of the water supply, but I don't know your case because I didn't take services for you in second year. So sprinkler is nothing but a big huge pipe which is connected to your UG, and फिर उसको आप ऊपर लेके आते हो और सीलिंग पे उसको ग्रिड में डालते हो. That's it. It's damn simple. ऐसा कुछ great नहीं. If you can just Google up, you will know what it is. तो एक sprinkler का line आता है. Then there is a fifth grid that comes, is your smoke detector, because smoke detector is the one which will give the alarm, and if the fire system is working on automatic system, then smoke detector is the one which will start off the sprinkler. So that is how your entire things are done. So बस इतना 5-6 grid आने वाला है. Now how do you make your ceiling beautiful? That's your challenge. वही तुम्हारा how do you compose your ceiling where I'm going to put all these and yet it looks beautiful? Did I answer your question? I'm sorry I didn't get your name, whoever asked me that question.
Yes.
Vaishnavi. Yeah, Vaishnavi. So Vaishnavi, did I answer your questions?
Yeah, no, I was asking about the services fixtures actually. Someone else asked about box.
Okay, fine. Okay. And I'm sure in construction you guys have been taught how to do false ceiling. Anybody? You know how to do a false ceiling, right? Hey guys, someone of you respond.
बहुत डिटेल में नहीं, like we've seen examples I think maybe, but we've not seen like the proper detailed construction behind it. Maybe we've seen a few examples.
So example से कैसे होता है, Shravan, always remember this, okay? Example कैसे होता है? Example maybe for that particular project, but if you are working out the detail for your project, if you know the principle, फिर वो detail तेरे हाथ में है. You will have to tweak the detail to
that principle we haven't been taught, like ऐसा ही आएगा, ऐसा ही आएगा. This is the point of a false
Now
ceiling.
suppose you want a distance between two panels, okay? Say you want, मेरा gypsum panel का जो board है वो 3x3 का है, मैं feet के बारे में बात कर रही हूँ, meters मत ले. Okay, can't be have a gypsum board of 3 meter by 3 meter, but suppose 3 feet by 3 feet का मेरा gypsum board का size है. But you say if I just stick them, end to end, it will look very monotonous. So what if I want to break the grid? And then you think, what if I have the gypsum panel और उसके बीच में जो मुझे gap मिलेगा वहां पे I will put my AC grills or AC diffusers. Okay, और side में हम grill लगाएंगे. Okay, so all on the side of your wall, maybe you will project the gypsum board वहां पे भी लगा के पीछे आप मुझे duct दोगे, which is taking the air all the way back to your wherever the AC plant room is. Okay, but वहां पे आपका grill रहेगा और ऊपर से आपका सारा diffusion हो रहा है. So then you will think, no, I will do this only in the center. But when I go at the edges, I will join the gypsum board, okay? And then I will have the diffuser in the center of the gypsum board. फिर आपको वो gypsum board cut करके बीच में वो diffuser लगा के, and that all you just have to show, okay? You don't have to detail it, और वो carpenter करेगा. Of course, when you do the real project, वो सब detail करना पड़ेगा. But right now, you don't have time to do that, okay? Right now, what is the focus in this semester and in this studio is, you will need to take a very interesting detail of your building and detail it out. It could be a staircase, it could be a cladding material, it could be maybe the acoustical treatment that you have done inside, and you would really want to talk about it like what Swati showed the project before. If anybody has planned a project like that and you would, nahi, mujhe ye dikhana hi hai. Maybe by Revit use करके, ArchiCAD use करके, उसका आप क्या बोल सकते हो, synthesis drawing बना के, you can do that, right? So yeah, I mean, that's another detail you can take up. So detail is up to you, how you take up that. But when I talk about the submissions in terms of sight lines, sound lines, RT, then all these things will have to be done. So the detail will depend on how you design, not what you saw. That is the principle. You understand? कि gypsum board को support कैसे करने का? Yeah, if I have a wooden panel, how do I support the wooden panel? So how do I hang anything from the ceiling? तो वहाँ पे मुझे ceiling concrete का बना रहता है, right? Generally, most of you are using concrete. Now, if that is the case, आप ceiling में hole कैसे करते हो? You screw it up, okay, and you use steel section. So then, what is the case? Nut bolts. So if it's simple, right? You just have to work out the details. Suppose you are using wood as a ceiling. Suppose somebody is using wood as a ceiling. फिर तो और भी आसान है. Got it? What I'm trying to say? सन्नाटा क्यों भाई? Any questions, guys?
No, not seeing anything.
Any questions regarding your studios or any other thing? Even those, Swati, you can stop the recording. That's okay. We are done.